Y'all need to help Stephen Phillips out over there. Out the door and off the radio.
Here's Stephen Phillips.
All righty, we're back with you. Always excited to have this young man back with us. He has got 2 books out right now, working on another one, Blood in the Streets, Morris P.I. Y'all need to check on that. He is an actor with Stand On It, Poker Run, and he is a A2. I guess that's what it's called up there at Fox News, A2 and FBN and all the rest of that good stuff. You'll have to explain that to us. Dion, Baia, how are you this morning?
Good. How about yourself? How's everything today?
Good morning. We're doing good. Well, it's a new day, man. We got legalized marijuana in the state of Georgia, and we just found the new guy here at the station's a farmer on Hemp Road.
Oh, wow. That's exciting.
And he met his girlfriend at Walmart.
Oh, wow.
So,
it's for medicinal purposes only.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah,
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Can he write a book about that?
Yeah, there you go. So anyway, you're living in New York City with all the stuff going on at Fox News. How's the world been treating you?
It's been good. It's good. It's a little crazy in New York City proper. It's starting to kind of deteriorate a little bit, as you'd say. It's starting to become more like one of these movies you'd see in the late 70s, early 80s that you thought was the near future, like The Warriors or Escape from New York or something like that, or Death Wish, and it's starting to become a reality. But it's okay. It's fun. You just mind your own business and, keep your eye on the ball on what you're doing, and, everything should be fine. And we've had legalized marijuana up here for a little while now, so it's got to the point now where it's just wafted in the streets. You just walk around and, people are doing it everywhere. And I personally don't really have a problem with that, but my issue is that, just, do it in the privacy of your own home. You know what I mean? Don't make it like, the street is your couch or your living room. I just feel like people should do it in the privacy, and not do it in front of people or kids or whatever the heck else is going on. So that's my contention with it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Especially with the kids.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
And the public, it's especially in tourist attractions like Times Square or just New York City or whatever. It's just, it's where it's everywhere. It's just, just because you can do it doesn't mean maybe you should, and I'm sure people have different opinions on that, but I have no problem with people doing that kind of thing, but just, at 5 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock at night, I don't want to have to be walking by people and getting wafts of smoke or whatever people are doing.
Yeah, like secondhand smoke for marijuana is a lot different than cigarettes, right?
Yeah. I'm used to growing up with the secondhand smoke. We're smoking. We're like, you go to a restaurant and 10 feet over there is the smoking section and 10 feet over here is the non-smoking section. Or like, when you're smoking on a plane or a bus or something like that. Where,
I miss them days, man. That was the good old days.
It's funny what you miss and what you don't realize you have until it's gone, So I smoked for a good 10, 15 years of my life, and then I quit. And it's just funny thinking like, that era of, restaurant sections or whatever of smoking and stuff like that. And just how taboo nowadays people look at you with 3 eyes, or like, they don't want you to smoke tobacco, but cannabis, they're completely fine with it.
Yeah.
They're actually pushing it because they realize, like anything, if you could tax it, they'll push it. There's PSAs now in New York State and around the area, of go on blah, blah, blah.org or .edu or gov to find out how, if you qualify to smoke marijuana. And it's just, that I find that a little ridiculous too, because you're talking about how harmful tobacco is and alcohol is for people, but then you're openly pushing, marijuana.
But I've got a different take on this.
Speaking of ridiculous, how do you feel about subway riders defending themselves?
Well, I mean, I would be in that same situation. I don't understand. It's a very particular situation that man has gotten himself into, but I mean, it is not an overstatement to say that happens all the time where, people are, I know a lot of people who take the I luckily don't have to take the subway every day. I take just the regular train line into Grand Central Terminal and then can walk to work. But people who have to take the subway, that's a normal occurrence down there, seeing crazy people and stuff like that. And it's different from someone just panhandling, asking for money. There are people out there who, are scary, who look dangerous, and they don't care if there's women, children, or whatever around. They will sometimes get violent or get loud. So I know a lot of I have a friend of mine who I work with who was sucker punched in September of last year. Just 1 o'clock in the afternoon, was walking down the street by Port Authority, which is right by Times Square, and he was just punched in the face by a homeless person. So it is a really hard situation to get into, to find out that if you're in a situation where, someone, is being accosted or almost is going to be accosted, and then you try to step in, something like that, you could be eventually charged. It's a very scary situation. And I don't know what this leads to, because it's going to deter people from actually, lending a hand. There was a very famous case in the 60s in Queens, New York, where a woman was accosted, and I think she might have died. But the reason why it's so legendary is because people heard her screaming and no one helped her, and it almost becomes like a Twilight Zone episode or something like that. And I worry that if you deter people from or kind of actively put up these signs where we're going to charge you or we're going to arrest you for you defending yourself in these situations, that people aren't going to lend a hand or try to help them, just mind their own business or whatever. And that's a scary situation.
Yeah,
Should the guy have kept him in a headlock for 15 minutes? I don't know. I mean, from the video, it does seem like the guy was still, acting crazy, and they couldn't control him. And there were other strap hangers, as they call them, trying to settle the guy down. And when you're in that situation at the moment, it's really hard to Monday morning quarterback this stuff afterward. It just goes to the fault of, you can't necessarily blame the NYPD, but it's like, where is the police, or where are the people who are supposed to protect you? It's kind of lawlessness down there. There's no one to be around. They were waiting for police to come when this was all happening, and it took X amount of time, 10 minutes or so, for the police to come. So this is what happens when you don't have people, they're out there to protect you. So it's a very sad situation.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Now, let me ask something. Now, you work for Fox News. How long have you worked for Fox?
Oh, I'm going to age myself if I tell you that. I've been there since 2002.
Wow.
So I've gone on, it'll be 21 years come October.
Wow. So you've seen a lot of changes. So basically,
I've been there a minute.
Of course, all this stuff going on with Tucker, and I like Tucker, and I know you do too. But y'all got a lot of downtime. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize how much downtime you got. So what time, basically, do you have a set schedule that you go in and work 8 hours?
Sure. Yeah. We work 8-hour days. Of course, as they say in the business, breaking news changes everything. So there are sometimes a lot of opportunities for overtime if there's breaking news or whatever like that. But I do second shift. So I work like a 1 to 9 or 2 to 10. So I go in, get in about 1 o'clock, and then I will kind of do any kind of shows that fall in that kind of time frame. I do the Hannity live audience shows he's been doing now. I will sometimes do Martha McCallum's show. I will do the 5. Lately, I've been doing a lot of the business, FBN business channel shows. So I'll be doing Liz Clayman or Liz McDonald's show. Sometimes when Tucker's show was live in New York, I would do his show. I've been doing the news show that has replaced Tucker right now as well. I think it's called Fox News at Night or Fox News Tonight. I've been doing that show, which is having rotating hosts. So basically, whatever falls into the time frame of the hours you're there, I will basically do those shows. And as you said, I'm an A2, which is an audio guy, which means I'm the guy in the studio who mics up the guests and the anchors when they come in the studio.
That would have to be so much fun, though, to hang out with all that.
It's fun. It could be to be a fly on the wall, and a lot of times in a lot of those situations, it's very fun to see a lot of this. I mean, because a lot of it is, like, especially in the old days, a lot of it is kind of like wrestling. It's like where people will have this very contentious debate on air, and then when the cameras are off, it's just everyone starts laughing or whatever. So a lot of it, I know sometimes people take it very seriously, and then in these times now, it is very polarizing what's going on between the different the left and the right. But traditionally, I've always equated it to being just like wrestling. People get into whatever they're talking about, then off camera, the Republican or the liberal or whatever, they usually get along fine, and it's like, okay, I'll see you next time you're on, that kind of a thing.
So it's all theater in a way.
Yeah, in a way. I mean, now it's getting to be kind of people are so passionate. It's almost becoming where it's not where, afterward, sometimes it is kind of contentious and people will still be arguing when when they call cut or when the lights go off on the camera. But for the most part, people are very passionate about their side and they will argue, especially like something like the 5 where you have people like Geraldo or whoever else is on, telling their side, and then it can get and people people like that robust debate. People like the more, that's why Hannity and Combs back in the day was very popular. People like the back and forth, and Fox, is very much, tries to show both sides to a certain respect. Right. And have that vigorous back and forth debate. So it's not just one side, lecturing you about what you should do, what you should not do. That's why they have a very hard news division. And then they have afterward, they have they call them commentators or opinionated hosts. Like Hannity doesn't call himself a news host. He calls himself, he's a commentator. He has an opinion, and he states that overtly. After I think 7 o'clock or so on Fox, all that is kind of opinion news. It's commentators giving you their opinion on situations and stuff.
So it's different here at the radio station, because when we go off there, that's when all the French words start coming out. It gets pretty serious. Right?
You got to know all that French. Yeah.
Folks, we're talking to Dion Baia. He has got some books out. Y'all need to go check him out. Blood in the Streets, Morris P.I. And you're working on another book, right?
I am, yeah. I'm working on right now a prequel to the first book, Blood in the Streets, which is basically a 70s cop movie. I'm working on a sequel to that takes place before that other book takes place, which is the first book takes place in 1976. And this one's going to take place in 1972. So it takes place right before a prequel. And these were screenplays that I had written with the hopes of breaking into the business and making them into movies. And then I got the bright idea of turning them into books, because I'd have an easier time once the books were released, getting them made into movies, which really hasn't been the case, because it's still so hard to try to get these in front of people, to try to get awareness and try to get a screenplay sold. And it's very hard in this industry. And nowadays with there's so much entertainment out there. Right. For myself personally, I find it just almost like desensitizing, and almost there's too much out there. There's too much content. It's oversaturated. So I step back and I just find myself just watching like Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea or Kojak or Columbo, or just all the old time stuff that I'm comfortable with. I sometimes don't really watch that much new stuff at all, because there's just too much out there and it just comes and goes so quickly. I don't know how people find the time to just try to watch every new thing that's out.
Well, you have to pitch it to John, man. He'll do it.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. Try to get him to do something like that. His thing is he does a lot of stuff where he'll write, direct, produce, star, do everything himself. And then he'll try to kind of write it around the confines of what he's able to do on his studios in Louisiana. So I guess very forward thinkingly, he will try to write something that he knows that he'll be able to shoot down there in Louisiana. So that's what I should do, is write something with the idea of shooting it down on his compound, his studios down there, and then pitch it to him in that sense.
Y'all go check out Blood in the Streets and Morris P.I. You're going to love it. Jennifer actually come up with something that I had no idea about, that you have got. I'm going to let her take it away, Jennifer. I know you're dying to find out.
Your father-in-law sounded like a fascinating individual. And he's the pioneer, in UFO research or ufology? What is the term for that?
I think it's ufology, if I'm saying it right. And yeah, he was the pioneer in UFO magazine, which was very huge. He passed away in September 2003. Mm-hmm. But at the time, he was running the #1 most famous UFO magazine in the world. My wife is English. He was English, UK based, and he would go around the world giving lectures and stuff like that. And at the time when print was the mainstay, that magazine was #1 in all the world. They did an X-Files episode where they based a lot of the stuff off of one of his issues, as well as Men in Black 2. There is a scene where they actually took his office apart and reassembled it and put it in Men in Black 2. So there's a scene where like they go to somebody's office and then they do the thing where they have the mind eraser, and if you look on the coffee table, you'll see all their magazines and stuff like that. So it was a very big deal at the time when it was, in that era, right before I think the internet really hit and print kind of fell out of mainstream.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, man, I'm a UFO searcher. I ain't kidding you. I've been looking for them because I hang out in trailer parks all the time looking for them.
You're always out there looking. And nowadays you see a lot of stuff. That was something Tucker Carlson would do as well. He would do these segments about, the stuff being released, the government related stuff and what people would see. And he had a lot of famous UFO people on, Nick Pope and stuff, who my wife actually knew. from being in the industry, you know, because she would travel around with her father. So she would know a lot of the people who were coming and doing lectures, you know, the cosmonauts or the astronauts, the various people who would have stories about things like that. So I find it fascinating. And I don't know, nowadays it's really, you know, I want to learn. I want to know, you know, if you believe it or not, if there are aliens, but I don't know at the end of the day if the government would actually tell us, just because
of course not.
with everything else going on in the world, you know, they're going to drop that little tidbit on us that, you know, oh, by the way, there's, you know, some other crazy, you know, whatever being or entity you don't understand watching us, you know, that has nothing to do with God. So
that Greg Hartley, I don't know if you know Greg Hartley. He does a YouTube channel, The Behavior Panel, and he's actually a behavioral scientist, so he knows all about body language. And they actually had this guy that said he was took as a kid and in a UFO, and they read the guy's body language, and actually they said this guy is telling the truth according to his body language, because your body language don't lie.
Right.
And then they actually went and got him, and he come and sat and talked to him, and they wouldn't tell, you know, some of the stuff that he talked about. You know, they said, we really, you know, don't, but you know, this guy actually was telling the truth, and he was talking about being, you know, an alien where he had been
abducted him.
Yeah, abducted him, and
yeah,
and so I don't know if you believe it or not, but I mean, your body language don't lie. That's something you can't get around. I don't know. Yeah, if y'all ever had him on before, but I don't know. You know, it's hard to believe that as big as the universe is, there ain't somebody out there somewhere,
right?
You know.
Yeah, and I know people who are very religious. I've talked to who are kind of counter it. They say you can't believe in aliens without believing in God. And I don't know if, I mean, I kind of believe in both. I mean, if there are aliens, why can't God have made the aliens? Or why can't they just be one step removed from the creation or whatever? So in this day and age, who knows what we'll learn? I mean, they're still keeping from us, you know, the classified stuff about, say, you know, the JFK assassination or what really happened here, or, you know, Roswell, which gets back to the UFO stuff in 1947 about the supposed UFO crashing in Roswell, New Mexico. You know, a lot of that stuff is still classified for whatever reason. And I don't know if they think it's just the benefit of they don't want the population to know, or what, for whatever reason. So in 50 or 100 years, when stuff is declassified or finally gets out there, nobody cares. It'll be interesting to see what the real story is with stuff like that. But I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility, where if you think about how small the Earth is inside our galaxy and vice versa, and how big everything, you know, why can't there be some other kind of, you know, civilization somewhere else or whatever, if they're more advanced or less advanced than us, or if, you know, I don't know. It just kind of falls out of my realm of expertise, but I mean, I find everything could be possible. So I try to keep an open mind at the moment until, you know, you're disproven, you know.
Yeah.
Well, what's so fascinating is if you go to the Vatican or a lot of museums in Rome, a lot of Northern Italian Renaissance art, and we're talking late 1500s, early 1600s, they actually feature saucers.
Yeah, you see, like in the corner in a fresco, you'll see like a little, like a saucer, UFO-ish kind of paint, like in the corner with somebody in it. You know, it looks like a little plane or something, and you know, so it's
and
then the whole
carvings. It's I just don't understand why it's so secret and the governments don't disclose more.
In the idea of like the Aztecs or the Egyptians making things on the other side of the hemispheres and not knowing each other, but they're designing these mathematically amazing things, you know, like the, you know, especially the Egyptians, and both them doing these incredible works with what the capabilities they had at the time. And they're doing things to the stars and mathematically sound. I mean, it's a lot of it is just breathtaking. And I don't know if that goes to a culture we've lost, like Atlantis or something like that. Maybe there's something that, you know, there's an element missing that if we were to find, we're like, oh, okay, that explains everything. Or if it's something like, you know, there was something that came down to help us. So yes, I find it all very fascinating. And that was my father-in-law's kind of passion. And he made a very big a career out of that, lecturing, going around the world. And the UFO magazine, you could still find it on YouTube, not YouTube, eBay and stuff like that. But sadly, it kind of dissolved when he passed away in 2003. And then Dan Aykroyd and people related to him acquired the stuff after that, and then Dan Aykroyd put out a documentary in 2003 or 2004, utilizing kind of like the material that my father-in-law had in his library. Graham Birdsall is my father-in-law's name.
Okay, that's right.
So if you look up Graham Birdsall, you'll see there's a lot of there's DVDs you can buy of his lectures and stuff like that, and you could probably find a lot of stuff on YouTube that's put on. And then there's a whole plethora of the UFO magazine that's about that you can find on eBay and stuff like that.
Well, Dion, we are about to get ready to go to a break, man. I hate to get you up so early and just
no, it's okay.
I can talk to you all day. I love talking to you, man. You're
yeah. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you
yeah,
for
let's plug your stuff that you got going on. Tell them about your books, where they can get it, and other stuff that you've got going on. Because we want them. I mean, this guy, y'all, no kidding. I mean, he's a lot of fun to be around, and he's got some cool stuff out there. So tell them a little bit about it.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, both my books you can get on Amazon or at Barnes & Noble. They're available in paperback, ebook, or audiobook. If you don't like to read, you just want to listen, you can get them. The first one's called Blood in the Streets, and that's basically a 70s cop movie, historical fiction, kind of a thriller. And the second one, which you were alluded to, Morris P.I., that is kind of like an Indiana Jones 40s private detective, takes place in Harlem at the end of World War II with Nazis and all kinds of crazy kind of, like, again, I can equate it to an Indiana Jones kind of a story, and that is also available on Amazon or in Barnes & Noble in those forms, paperback, ebook, or audiobook. And then, of course, I was in, as you mentioned, the two aforementioned John Schneider, Stand On It, which was his kind of homage to Smokey and the Bandit, which you can find now. That's actually on Amazon Prime. You can rent that or buy it on Amazon Prime, Stand On It, the first one. And then the second one, which was Poker Run, which is kind of an homage to Smokey and the Bandit and Cannonball Run, you can get at John Schneider Studios, and I think it's cineflixdod.com is where you can rent it or buy it. And we're supposed to be doing a third one, which is going to be Double or Nothing. But at the moment, John's wife passed away in February. So, he, of course, it's a very, very rough time for John and stuff like that. So, everything's kind of been put on hold because of all this tremendous stuff that's going on in his life. So we're just trying to, our thoughts and prayers go out to him, and we're just trying to be there for him. So maybe next year or so we'll get to film in the third one, but at the moment, stuff has been put on hold, but that's where you can find stuff at the moment.
I was just amazed that he let you in one of his movies, because he normally don't let somebody in that's better looking than him.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Thank you kindly. I'm sure he'll have something to say about that, but I mean, it was pure, as you guys know, it was just through, John gave me a chance because he knew Tyrus from Fox, on Gutfeld and on stuff like that. I was friends with Tyrus through working at Fox, and they needed somebody to play the idiot's son to Tyrus's Jackie Gleason, Sheriff Buford T. Justice, which in the movies, Sheriff Cletus T. Necessary. And Tyrus said, I have the perfect person he can play an idiot for a living. And they asked me, and I said, sure, John, I can do it. And, John took a chance, and John loved it. So it was a blessing to be able to end those.
Tyrus, that's a big dude, man. He is huge.
Yeah, he's not, he's a great guy, and he's a very big guy. I've tried to wrestle him many times, and it's just like, a fly coming at a dog just throws me away,
So, all right, man, we appreciate you, brother. We appreciate you.
Always a pleasure, never business. Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for spending a little time with us. And remember, you can tune in every morning at WJULradio.com at 8 a.m. Eastern. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel and like us on Facebook, The Morning Dish.